everyone. We are here with ProCare Health as our sponsor. It's me, Brenda. We have Katie joining us, and we have Brittany. Hi, everybody. We are doing a presentation today on protein, and it's called Protein Power, the ins and outs of this mighty micronutrient. And so we have our expert here with us, Katie Chapmon, who is, she's just wonderful. We've had her on our program before. We love you, Katie. She's a registered dietitian that basically she specializes in bariatric nutrition, digestive health, hormone issues, and she has an incredible amount of enthusiasm, and she's a lot of fun. We're just really going to be talking about, demystifying protein. A lot of people who are watching here probably are considering weight loss, possibly weight loss surgery. They are potentially going to be investing some time and energy in maybe some protein supplements and maybe just eating more protein. And so sometimes knowing basically the best types of protein, how proteins fuel our body, can be really important, to pick the best kinds, the kinds that absorb the best, and maybe the best ways to supplement in our diet whenever we need to do that. So we're going to be hitting on a lot of different things today, and I'm going to let these other ladies introduce themselves in a more formal manner, and then we'll kind of get started here. I don't know which of you girls. Brittany, you want to go first, and then we'll kind of let Katie merge into her presentation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good. Okay. So for those of you who may not know, my name is Brittany. I do these live events with Brenda every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time. And we also do monthly support groups too for you guys that are various different topics. On the topic of that, actually, if you ever think of a topic that you would like us to cover that we haven't done yet for these live groups or the support groups, please feel free to comment below, message us more privately, or you can email us too. And also, I just want to say I'm so happy to be back. I'm really, really excited to be back.
Yay.
I've been gone. For those of you who may not know, I was on my honeymoon in the Dominican Republic for 10 days. So it was a long time. It was a really good time. We missed our dogs and our cat, though, more than anything. So we had to come back. But I'm happy
and she missed
back.
us.
And I missed you guys. I did. I missed my ProCare family for sure. So thanks for having me back, you guys. I'm really excited to be back. So and we're gonna learn so much today about protein. Actually, Katie was telling us a little bit earlier before the call, and I was just listening very intently because I am very anxious to see what we're gonna learn today. So I'll go ahead and hand it off to you, Katie.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Excited to be here. It's always fun to just geek out with everyone in this space, and I love to take on the subject of protein because there's so much to it, and we can definitely talk for days about it. But I promise to make it fun. Promise. And we'll learn a whole bunch of stuff too at the same time. So I guess let me introduce myself a little further. My name is Katie Chapmon, and I am a registered dietitian. I've been a dietitian for 13 years now, and all of those years have been in the space of bariatric nutrition. And so I've probably seen about, at this point, maybe 8,000 people go through the bariatric surgery process. I think quite a bit. So, so I feel like I've seen, all different scenarios, and it's helpful to just have that experience definitely under my belt. And so, gosh, I am I work with people individually. I am in private practice, and I also teach healthcare professionals in the field about bariatric surgery too. And I just launched a course to do that. So I'll describe both of those and how to reach me a little bit later here in the game. But I want to dive in and talk about protein today. So I know there's our kind of chat window. Feel free to put any questions in there. I'll try to answer along the way. Or if not, then I'll make sure that I follow up at the end. And also looking forward to hearing what you guys know also about protein as well. So I'm going to attempt all the good technology here and share my screen. Give me 1 second. I always like a good visual, you know. And then let's see. So give me a sec. All right. We're hoping here. Give me one. Magic, hopefully. Yes.
Nice. Yay.
Okay. So let's talk about protein. And I love to talk about this little mighty, I put micronutrient, and that was me being a very tired person last night typing this up. It's actually a macronutrient. What am I already starting out this morning talking about the wrong things? But it's a good way for me to segue into kind of definition a little bit of the macronutrients and the micronutrients. So if I take a look kind of protein, we're going to talk a bit about what protein is, why it's needed, its relationship and importance after surgery, food, supplements, and stuff. My best way to describe all of the other aspects of protein. And then really talking about how much is too much too. So let's dive in, and I want to start first with explaining micronutrients and macronutrients. So, see, correct on here. What? Again, late night happenings, I guess.
It happens.
Right? Happens to the best of us. So let's break this down. So our macronutrients are kind of our major nutrients, our major players in our body. We have 3 of them. We have protein, carbohydrates, and fat. We actually need all 3 of those. They work and they do different functions in our bodies. And they also help to carry our micronutrients too. And so our micronutrients are the smaller nutrients that aren't as much of our major players, but are still needed. So those are considered like our vitamins and minerals. That's my easiest way to put those 2 apart. And so when we look at protein is one of those players. It helps to fuel our body and helps with so many other things. So if I look at all the things that protein's involved in, it's involved in growth, regeneration. It's helps with reactions for energy and to move our muscles, and acts as a messenger sometimes between our cells and our tissues. I think most people think of probably muscle and probably hair, skin, and nails when they think of protein. What do you guys think of when you think of protein?
I think of muscle.
I always thought of muscle too. And
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about your skin. I didn't realize it was your hair and your nails too, though.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that when I look at, right, when people get nervous about, let's say like their hair after surgery, there's a couple different things that I look at hair just to make sure that it's supported. And one of the things that I look at is protein, and do we have enough, and the quality of it. So I'm actually glad to talk about this today. And then of course muscles, the common one too, as well, because that's our main storage of how proteins kind of, let's say like stored in the body or built up in the body. And I'll define that a little bit better in a second. So what makes up a protein? And without getting too geeky in here, we have our kind of just oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen. Okay, those are just the main elements that make up a protein. They build up this nice chain of amino acids, and that chain is broken down into essential and non-essential. And so our essential amino acids are ones that our body can't produce. Those need to come from other sources. That's our food and our supplements. And then our non-essential amino acids are ones that our bodies can make. So when I try to explain protein, or I'm really looking at protein overall, and especially in the space of bariatric surgery, and we only have so much room going on in there. So I have to make sure that someone's getting the most bang for their buck and filling in those essential amino acids that our body can't make. And so that goes into maybe my decision of a protein supplement, or maybe my decision of food or type of food that is going in there. I know real estate gets really tough when you have a smaller anatomy, or things are bypassed or switched around. So those essential amino acids kind of become important, which is why I wanted to at least explain that part before looking at supplements in a way. So, all right, why do we need protein, or why, I guess, is protein looked at so much after surgery? And probably a couple different things, and they vary along your bariatric surgery journey. So I would say, first of all, we want to help with protein helps with tissue healing. So, all of the different incisions, any tissues that were moved or modified during surgery, protein helps to build up those tissues. So that's super, super important. And also protects your lean muscle. So it helps to protect your muscle as you're losing weight. And I like to think of we're trying to keep what we want to keep, and we're trying to get rid of what we want to get rid of. So protein helps to do that. And so oftentimes people will hear kind of protein sparing, or that kind of terminology, which means that we're providing enough protein for our body to use and build up its muscle, but that it has to take a look at our fat cells to make sure that that is used as our primary source of energy. So that's how that protein, making sure those needs are met, and our body switching gears to use our fat as primary source of energy instead of protein, which it usually does. Also, protein helps us to feel more full. So I can say that that's helpful too after surgery as well. So I put on here some math, not to scare you guys, not to throw you off in any way, but the question that comes up oftentimes for me as a dietitian is, how much protein do I need, right? And there's some general stuff that, we want to have usually at least 60 grams of protein per day, and that can come from your food, that can come from your supplements, a combo of both, and that depends on where you're at after surgery. Just knowing that if you're really early from surgery, then food isn't going to be as much of where you're leaning into. But when someone's trying to figure out how much protein do I need for me, I try to do just a maybe simple calculation, and I say that with such cringiness because math is not always the most favorite thing in the world. So I wanted to at least go hey, if you're trying to figure this out, let's put a calculation on the screen. So at least you know maybe where I'm coming from or what I try to do. So usually protein recommendations are about 1 to 1.5 grams per kilogram per day based on an ideal body weight after surgery. And that terminology, that ideal body weight, is something kind of in the nutrition world. We have different calculations based upon ideal versus adjusted versus maybe a BMI. And that helps to guide someone in the nutrition space as to what exact calculations or what exact balance does someone need and how they eat.
Katie, is it okay if I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
Actually there's two. So the first one is, and it looks like you're answering it on the next, based on a BMI of 25. So that'd be ideal.
Yes. So so that's why I was saying what I want to kind of give some context to is in the bariatric space, ideal is usually based upon a BMI of 25. Okay. So that puts us right at the, BMI is one of those that we kind of have with that grain of salt because I don't think it fits every person's body. But it's a way to kind of help figure out some of these calculations for someone. So in the bariatric surgery kind of space, BMI of 25 is going to be your ideal. And surprisingly, men and women, in terms of their protein needs, are not that much different. Men need just a little bit more, usually only 10 grams more than females. But if I'm really looking at kind of where do I get a base calculation, I would take it off my BMI of 25.
So my second question too, kind of leading into that is, like, let's say somebody has a gastric bypass versus a sleeve versus a duodenal switch.
Yeah.
So absorption is different. Would you recommend more for somebody who had a duodenal switch than somebody who had a sleeve?
Not necessarily more. Quality would definitely be different because of that absorption. And I'm going to go into quality next, but not necessarily more grams of protein. I still would have that range. And in that range, that allows you to have those variations. Mm-hmm. Now, I can say that a lot of times, let's say like study-wise, evidence-wise, there's not as much difference between Roux-en-Y or a duodenal switch. More difference compared upon the sleeve, but you still want to hit that range. So what I could say is if you have a metabolic surgery or a surgery that has more rerouting to it, you want to lean towards the higher end. And with a sleeve or maybe a band or a balloon, then you could lean towards the lower end. But still that range, and why I like ranges is that we don't always eat the same way every day that we go about life. And a range allows that little bit of flexibility and also to be able to know like, oh, okay, this is my least amount marker. So even if someone has like a duodenal switch, I at least want 1.0 gram per kilogram of protein going in. Did I answer that at least somewhat?
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think like I'm always the dietitian that also puts my thinking hat on of trying to just also live in reality too. Of just going like, okay, we don't eat the same way every day. We don't like every day isn't the same exactly for most people. So where can I give kind of some markers of being like, I need at least this. Mm-hmm. I would love this. But if we have to pick and choose or we're having some difficulty or that day is just, much more crazier than another day, what can I do about that? Or where do I need to kind of put my focus on to make sure that I get my least amount in? So
Perfect.
that's where I kind of try to approach it in that sense. Any other questions? And I'll say this, I can't see the questions on my screen, so please just stop me.
I actually don't see any. Brenda,
Okay.
did you see those on Facebook?
I don't see any questions on there right now.
Oh, those were just questions you had. Okay.
Cool. And please, you guys, go ahead, and everyone who's listening right now, like, please put it in all the chats everywhere.
Yeah.
And my friends here will make sure that they're like, hold on, slow your roll.
So the range, I am looking at your our pictures are covering up part of the thing. The calculation is 1 to 1.5 grams per kilogram on ideal weight. Okay.
Yeah. So I put it for my example there. I was like, okay, let's calculate. 5'4", BMI of 25 is 145 pounds. And so to switch pounds into kilograms is just taking that pounds and dividing it by 2.2. So there's 2.2 kilograms in a pound. Okay.
Gotcha.
So that's where I get my first kind of kilogram number. And I take that and I times that by 1.0, which is pretty much the same, but we need to show our work. I was a really good grade school student here. And then I like to make things like pretty. So then I kind of like round, and that would be like 66 grams.
Yeah.
And then, or we take that, same kilogram number and we times that by 1.5, and that gives us 98.8 grams. Again, rounding up, that would be 99 grams of protein per day. So that's kind of where I got my calculations. Believe me, I just put it on the screen because I get that question asked of me so much. And I love for people to have those tools. But if this isn't your thing or your jam, like, reach out to your friendly dietitian. Reach out to who you're working with, or find someone to work with, or reach out to me and let them help you, because it's not always fun. It's not always fun to do the math part of it.
Exactly. And some people look at macronutrients to figure out there's actually like diet plans out there looking at macronutrients. Would you, and I think in one of our support groups, I actually give some numbers out. Tell me what you usually recommend for protein, or do you, for protein, carbs, and fat for a good...
For macro, so I end up having kind of protein percentage around 40 grams. Okay. Or excuse me, not 40 grams. 40%. So if we're doing percentages, that's usually how the macros are based upon. So I usually have about 40% of my macros. And then with my carbohydrates, I have that around 35%, and then that leaves my fat about 25%. I'll get a little conservative sometimes with that protein. I've seen people go up to like 55% of protein, but I tend to see more kind of like gout and uric acid development and kidney stones with too high of protein.
Yeah.
So that balance makes a lot of sense. And then I'll also say too is that I'm just going by like really base numbers here. Mm-hmm. I would modify this based upon if someone's like how often someone's working out, their age.
I was just going to ask that actually.
Yeah.
So because of course you can overdo everything, including protein, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you're eating too much of it, you can get gout. And what was the other?
So kidney stones, uric acid development. Yeah. And then if it's too high in red meat too, there's like disease states that's connected to as well. Increased risk there.
What factors would you say plays into that?
Into too much protein or too much development?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Like if someone's eating too much protein,
yeah,
and let's say they're not working out like you were saying before, then they could develop those things. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I mentioned our macronutrients before, and just going through a little bit of percentage, because those major players all they work together. They're all partners in crime and how our body works. And when our body's going to break down protein, fat, carbohydrates, there's going to be, some breakdown. There's going to be a little bit of trash that we have to eliminate. And so if we don't have a really nice balance of all of those, and I'll include carbohydrates, and I know that's sometimes scary for people, but it's balance. And so part of that interaction is how the body will kind of put away that trash. It gets further broken down, or it's used by one of its other partners. Because just like I talked about, like protein does other functions in the body.
Right.
So maybe part of that breakdown is going to go for like communication. But it needs communication with fat type thing. So, and if we don't have enough fat there, like if it's just protein and like hardly anything else, then they're kind of like, oh, I was going to communicate with my partner, my fat partner here, and they're not there. So then they just kind of build up. So then you get that build up of, and I'm like, trash. I don't know. It's like this buildup of stuff that we want to either be used or eliminated.
Right.
And so then our body's like, whoa, hold on a second, and has different things happen or develop because of that. Yeah.
Hey,
Great
Katie.
Question.
Somebody has posted 2 questions. They go together.
Great.
I'm gonna press start answering here. So it's the same person, Scotty. Hi,
Hi, Scotty.
with us a lot.
Yes.
Along with
Thank you for
GC
coming
and Michael. We all love you all. And she put, so for a woman who is 5'6", 81.81 kilograms, should get between 81 and 123 grams of protein per day. Is that correct? That's the first part of the question.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be correct. I mean, I would I can calculate over here and double check, because I don't know that BMI of 25 off the top of my head. So if she's already done that switch to kilograms, then that would be correct of what her calculations are. And I think
so it's by ideal body weight, the 25 BMI.
It's BMI of 25. Yeah.
And then she also says, my surgeon told me that he is happy for me to get 50 grams per day, and that was a year post-op. That's a huge difference. So different programs do have different recommendations.
Yeah.
They do. And I think that so I've been in this kind of field for 13 years. So I've also seen kind of the shift and the change, and kind of noting of like, oh, okay, where are our recommendations coming from? And I can say way back in the day, it was around 50 grams is being like, okay, that's what I want, like that's ideally what we want to have. Over time, seeing that 60 grams is now our kind of like statement of minimal. And I always look at doing calculations as being very particular for someone, right? So I think of someone who is 5 foot versus someone who's 6 foot. Like that's a big difference in what their needs are just across the board. And so this kind of calculating just allows to be a bit more specific. And I can say too, like I definitely, if I work closely with someone, I'll modify this along the way. So just remember, right after surgery and that first year after surgery, it's kind of tough and overwhelming sometimes to get your needs in, or like to get things in just it's not even your needs, but just to get things in.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I'll see like the first year, I'll see some surgeons make a lower recommendation number to have people not feel so overwhelmed too. So that could be why that narrative happened. But I do see variation.
Mm-hmm.
That helps a lot. I'm going to press done answering on that. So anybody else has questions, please continue and we'll let you go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank you for...
This is always fun. Can you tell my brain starts moving? I'm like, okay, how to answer this? Let's make sure we all understand the ins, the outs, the everything.
We just got another question from
yeah,
Scotty,
go
too.
for it. Hey,
So-
Scotty, go for it.
She said, when counting carbs, do you count veggie carbs as total carbs?
If I'm doing macronutrients, if it's a, so I'm assuming veggie, she's meaning like a starchy vegetable, and not just some starch that comes from a vegetable. And let me clarify that. So we do have vegetables that are considered starchy vegetables that give a ton of fiber, so I love them. But they do have a higher carbohydrate content and lean more towards like a carbohydrate in that category. Let's say there's 3 categories. And then we have just vegetables, and some of them do include trace amounts of carbohydrates, but they have a good water content, vitamin and mineral content. Their calories are relatively low, and they would be considered non-starchy vegetables.
Okay.
So I give that clarification because if I'm looking at total carbs, I would include my starchy vegetables in that total carb count. But the little trace amounts that I would get maybe from like broccoli or something like that, I don't include those as a like veggie carb. So I just wanted to clarify like that language.
Yeah.
So I give a correct answer.
She said, thank you, more like green salads, beets, carrots, etc., not necessarily like potatoes or corn.
Yeah, then potatoes and corn, starchy, fruit, beets, carrots, salad, non-starchy, and I actually wouldn't add those in because really you're getting a good amount of water, you're getting some fiber base to it. Those very trace carbohydrates I don't include in that kind of macronutrient total.
Okay.
Good question though. Yay! All right,
Yay.
We're just talking all the macronutrients.
Yes.
Let's go for it, right?
Might as well. Yeah.
So let's talk food and supplements, because I think this can kind of help a little bit with, I know some of the questions that I get in practice will be like complete proteins, incomplete proteins, supplements. Are all the supplements the same across the board? Which they're not. And so let's talk kind of complete proteins, incomplete proteins, and food a little bit. And so remember when I was talking about those essential amino acids, and right, oh gosh, I remember biochemistry and like just kind of hating those guys. And now I use them all the time, every day. So, but those essential amino acids are ones that our body cannot produce. So we need to make sure that we're getting them from food or supplements. We're getting them from outside, let's just say. So basics of the difference between a complete and incomplete is a complete protein provides all 9 of those essential amino acids in one sitting, okay? So if I look at like meat or poultry or fish or eggs, those are considered complete proteins. They include all 9 of those amino acids. An incomplete protein just means that at that one sitting or that one, bite, it does not include all those 9 essential amino acids. Why would that maybe normally would not make as big of a difference? But I think when I start looking at types of surgery, or even after a bariatric surgery, we only have so much room. So I do want to be mindful of like, where are my protein sources coming from? Do I have some that are complete? Do I have some that are incomplete? And that's okay. But do I have a variety of incomplete ones so that they can partner together and fill in the blanks? It used to be thought that you had to eat them at one sitting, like 2 incomplete proteins that partner together. That's not the case. If you like to do that, that's okay, but it's not the case as much anymore. But just making sure, as far as looking at quality wise, that variety is key, actually. And if we lean more towards our incomplete proteins, then are we making sure that we have a variety of within those kind of family? And that's where supplements actually can be really helpful to make sure all those blanks are filled in too, as well. And so just to circle back on kind of Roux-en-Y versus duodenal switch versus sleeve, this is where I might get a little bit more pickier of like making sure my complete proteins are going in if someone has a DS or a Roux-en-Y versus a sleeve, just for that ample opportunity of absorption and quality of that absorption. Any questions on that? I try to simplify those guys a little bit.
I mean, you're going to be talking about supplements and how those fit in, right?
Yeah.
So that was going to be my question, but
yeah,
just keep going. I don't see anything on Facebook either.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
I'm keeping an eye on Facebook, but I don't see anything. So if you guys have any questions, make sure you're commenting so we can relay that to Katie.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I just put some examples of some of food here, and they include both complete and incomplete proteins. But along with my incomplete proteins, I always look at them. They're not bad because they usually are giving me they're usually pretty fiber filled too, which I love fiber just because it does keep you fuller longer. It's a great kind of making sure your digestive tract is healthy too. But in here, I just kind of put a little bit of some examples, some grams of protein, just to bring it back full circle if someone's counting up those grams of what those kind of look like. This list could be exhaustive, to be honest with you. I have lists that are like detailed and like long, and I'm like, whew, okay. I just want to make sure that we're getting in like a protein food and veggies, and like I try not to make things too overly complicated, at least for people navigating this. So let's talk protein supplements, because I think that actually, especially when we're talking after bariatric surgery, that is a space that I get picky about, because not all protein supplements are made the same. And there's a million of them out there. And we're looking for ones that, we like to drink, they taste good. We're looking for ones that maybe go down easily, that are comfortable. They have, they're not too thick, they're not too thin. We all have our preferences with that. But when I look at a protein supplement, I want to make sure those amino acids are in there. And because if my supplement is my major part of getting in that macronutrient, then if it's missing one of those essential amino acids, it's only filling in part of the blanks. And how I guess my easiest sense of maybe explaining this is if I need all 9 of those essential amino acids and I want them all to go up to this bar. So I have my lovely pen here, and I want every amino acid to hit this bar. Whoop. And I have 7 of them that go up there, and I have 2 of them that are kind of here. Well, my protein supplement is really only as complete as this many grams will cover. So it's not the full picture as I would want it to be. So that being said, I look at amino acids when I evaluate a protein supplement. And so oftentimes you'll see a protein label that kind of looks like this, like they'll put the amino acid profile on there. Not all of them do, but I wanted to put this up here just so that when people see that, they're like, oh, okay, great. But like that actually helps to go like, well, are all the correct amounts like included in there, right?
Unless you're Katie Chapmon, you probably would not know that.
Correct.
I didn't know that.
I was like, I just pointed out because, like it's sometimes on the label, like we have our usually like nutrition facts label, our ingredients, and then some proteins will put this on there. Some of them won't. It doesn't mean that it's like good or bad or anything like that. But this is part of that. If I'm really looking at evaluating a supplement, really looking at them, then I want to make sure that I know this information. This does involve some calculation. I won't get me wrong, but if I'm being like the geeky dietitian that I am, I'll go into this depth. How, as someone who will not be geeky dietitian Katie, there's some tips that I can help you to look at to kind of evaluate a protein supplement or be like, what's included in here? Or how can I know if it's maybe complete or maybe not so complete? And so I'll go to my next slide and kind of talk label a little bit and types of protein sources. But one thing that I can tell you is that if you're drinking your protein supplement and you're hungry within probably like an hour, that tells me it's not a complete protein.
Oh.
And so
that makes sense too.
Yeah, it does, right? But then
it's not doing its job of filling you up.
Exactly. Well, and it's just it's just missing some pieces, or some pieces are lower. So it's like, cool, we used the complete pieces. Thanks.
But we need more.
Right. We need more. So that's why, one easy thing is, I had someone tell me that they were doing their protein supplements, right after surgery. It was a month after surgery. And they're like, Katie, I am starving. And I was like, oh yeah, we need to look and see what you're doing. And let's just take a look. Mm-hmm. And that was part of the picture. It was just like, hey, we're not getting in the complete picture. We have no food going in to fill in any blanks. We're really relying on these supplements, and they're just not giving us the right things.
Yeah.
All the things.
That totally makes sense, because I can remember after having surgery, there was I just did not like doing shakes because they didn't seem like they filled me up. So maybe I was drinking the wrong kinds. Yeah.
Maybe. So that's that's one easy kind of physical thing that I can tell people that if they're kind of being like, I'm not so sure about this one, that's an easy, usually a protein supplement will have someone feel full for about 2 to 3 hours. Usually.
We also have another question on Facebook that I just saw. So I'm sorry, Kelly, we're just now getting to you. It says, I think she's referring to the prior slide. It said, what are the incomplete proteins? The bottom of the page was blocked. So can we just go back?
Oh, this one. Okay. I was like, this one.
Yeah. What were the other ones listed there? Because it looks like it is.
Incomplete proteins are going to look at your legumes, grains, and nuts.
Okay, she's asking if there's any more than that.
Yes.
Nope.
Not on my screen, but yes, in real life.
So that was just it's not an inclusive list,
no,
but that's...
this is not at all. This is just kind of giving you an idea of that there's some complete, there's some incomplete. I'll tell anyone, don't overthink it. Don't make it too hard.
Okay.
But just be like, hey, we need some variety. We need some things that are complete. We need some, also probably have some things that are incomplete.
Right.
So, but yeah, not an exhaustive list. I did not want to bore all of you guys with exhaustive list today.
I hope that answers your question, Kelly.
Kelly. Yeah, but just let me know.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
So I'm like, we'll go back. All right. So talking about label, but let's talk types of protein supplements. So, and bioavailability, very sciencey word. Okay. That basically just means like how much straight up protein do we have? And this type of protein that is going to be available for our body to take in, absorb, and use. Okay. And why I kind of call it like straight up protein is because oftentimes in our types of, let's say like commercial proteins and things like that, we have filtration that happens. We might have fillers that are put in. We might have kind of like leftovers that happen after it's processed. And so that makes a difference of the kind of type and the quality of what is in that supplement. So if probably the two ones we usually hear of and that are more like just out there on the market is concentrates and isolates. I did put the last one in there of hydrolysates. Every once in a while you'll see them, but usually like the two concentrate and isolates are the two kind of types of protein. Underneath there, we have like whey isolate or whey concentrate. Maybe we have like an egg protein source or a casein isolate or a casein concentrate. There's a lot of other details that come with that. But at least at first, I wanted to kind of break down concentrate versus isolates. And here, this is something that you can look for on the label to help go like, is it likely a more complete protein without doing a KD calculation, basically. So when I look at these two, my isolates have a really nice filtering process that really removes my fats, my carbohydrates, and actually a lot of the other kind of, let's say, filler or bulk in there that would include like lactose, would include some of my other actually enzymes that or enzyme components that would go in there that I would need an enzyme to break down. And so isolates tend to be about 90 to 95%. I've seen as low as like 85, 80, but for the most part, they're about 90 to 95% like straight up protein, which is awesome. They're like, okay, this is probably like if I see an isolate and it's just isolate, I'm pretty like positive that it's a complete protein. Yeah. So when I look at concentrates, those actually just don't have as much filtration. They have a lot of variability. Okay. So with that's when I look at having, 60 to 80% straight up protein. They used to be as low as like 25%. I think they're getting a little bit better. But they're also, they typically have other things going on in there that I'm not as confident that that's a straight up protein. You'll see concentrates and isolates sometimes combined. So that gives me my middle ground, right? But if I'm really going like, I'm not sure about this, I want to be super positive, I'm really looking for that isolate form. And that's something that will be on your nutrition label. If you look under ingredients, it will always tell you the type of protein and then kind of the format of the protein as well. So meaning like an isolate, concentrate, or if it's a blend in there.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then I always like to look at like, hey, what are my sources? So whey is probably the most common that I see. I'll sometimes see casein. I will see egg white as a protein source, as a supplement. Your vegetarian sources and your collagen, those two get me a little bit thoughtful to use those after surgery, just because they're usually not a complete source of protein. Collagen definitely isn't. That one's missing tryptophan, and even, I know, amino acids, man. Even if they add it to the formulation, it's usually not enough in that amount to make it complete. So I just get a little bit thoughtful around these. I know sometimes if someone likes these sources or are follow a particular practice or are vegetarian or vegan and really are like, nope, I want something plant-based, there's stuff that, we can kind of figure out. But if I'm looking, I'm probably going to be like, oh, my whey isolate is the one that I'm probably going to be looking for as being a confident, complete protein with that.
Excuse me.
Good stuff, right?
It's okay.
And then last, I'm going to just say, we kind of talked about this before, but can there be too much of a good thing? Absolutely. Yeah. And I know after surgery, we're always looking at like protein, but there's balance that needs to happen because they work together. Those proteins, those carbohydrates, those fats, they work together. So I always look at like, well, where's my balance and what's needed in there, so that way I don't lean so towards protein that I miss the other pieces. I can kind of cause some increased risk of things that are not so great for my body. Mm-hmm. But then also too, that if my body's missing important pieces, eventually it's going to give you a sign. So I've even seen it where some people are just protein and like literally like no vegetables, no anything else. And then they start getting hungry and that gets confusing. Which absolutely you think protein fills you up. Satiety.
Yeah.
But I've just seen it because of too long without having other things as part of the picture, without having balance. Then our body's like, hey, yeah, I actually really do need a little bit of these other things to be able to function. So I'm giving you a sign. I'm giving you a sign.
And we do have a question. And then also we are at 1:54, which we got about 7 minutes left on before to keep it under. If we keep it under an hour, we can post it to Instagram. So we're gonna do that. Like tie up. But I also wanted to answer a question. GC says, is this presentation available for replay? My RD would love to watch it. So it is available on this forum, Crowdcast, and also on Facebook. So if you're looking at Facebook, it'll be on the ProCare Health page for replay. And if you're looking in Crowdcast, use the same link. Just have them register. We'll also hopefully be able to post it to Instagram. So... yeah. Anyways, Katie, you keep going, girl.
No, I mean, that's the end. Believe me, there's a million things we can talk about this. And actually, we're going to plan a protein part 2 to just dive in a little bit deeper into supplements themselves. Because I actually just hit the surface, surprisingly. Mm-hmm. But to dive in a little bit deeper about protein supplements themselves. So we'll get that kind of on the books and ready in the next couple months. And then I just wanted to put up really of how people can get in touch with me if they have questions or want to reach out or want to work with me. And so that's all through my katiechapmon.com. And then for healthcare professionals, I did just launch an awesome course that's actually goes through and just kind of gets in deep with all of this education around bariatric surgery and involves my numerous years of experience.
Yeah.
And that's on bariatricnutritionpro.com. So.
And we'll post the link to that, bariatricpro.com.
Bariatricnutritionpro.com.
Okay.
And you'll see those lovely little stomachs that I had throughout the presentation that are just so adorable. I couldn't help it.
They were really cute.
Thanks. Well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so then I can see you guys again and answer anything else and wrap up today.
Yeah. Do you have, Brittany, is there anything you want to share regarding ProCare, our sponsor, and with our platform here too? We could share a little bit about that. We got just a few minutes left.
Sure. Yeah. Let me get to I'm already on the site right here, actually. Okay. Our one thing I do want to share with you guys real quick, since ProCare is the sponsor, is that our cinnamon roll calcium chews are back in stock, you guys. So, yay! And these are really nice because they also have probiotics in the formula as well as the vitamin D to help absorb that calcium. So, is there anything else?
Maybe how they can join, be a follower of our Crowdcast channel, just in case they're interested in that.
It's been a while, so.
I know, it is. It's been.
Guys, I forgot how to work.
I am.
Stop sharing that.
Katie, did I write your website down correctly while she's doing that?
You
okay,
did.
Good. I'm going to try to put it on Facebook here shortly, too.
Everyone, and any other way reaching out to me. I'm happy to do that. I can guide.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so this is our Crowdcast website too. This is the platform that we use for these live events. We also do put them on Facebook, so it's possible you could be watching it on Facebook too. If you're watching it on Facebook, great. But I will say, even if you are watching it on Facebook, we would encourage you to create a Crowdcast login and account, because you'll get notifications on upcoming events, and you can also access the replays. So in order to do that, you just go to this link here, and I'll share it after I'm done. You can just go there, create a username and login. I think it's just an email. Oh, and it's totally free too. You don't have to pay for any of this. So where it says following here, it will be blue, I believe, and it'll say follow. If you click that follow button, then you'll get notifications, and I think you even get reminders. What is it, Brenda? Remind me. Is it 10 minutes before?
10 minutes before? I'm pretty sure. I'm putting
so 10 minutes before. So on air now, we're still doing the protein power with Katie, and here's our upcoming events. So we also do have a support group coming up this Thursday, tomorrow. Gosh, this week's flying by, right?
I know, it is.
Tomorrow is Thursday. Okay. So tomorrow we do have a support group. If you'd like to join us on that, that starts at 5 p.m. Central Time. And here are some other ones that we have coming up. I'm really excited to do the interview with Maddie.
Yeah.
In body confidence. That'll be a lot of fun to do. And then here's our past events that we've done. Katie, you've been on here a couple times now. There's Katie.
I
Nutrition labels. That was great too.
Yeah, so if you guys have any questions about the new nutrition labels too, go check that out. I thought there was one more we did with Katie too.
No, I don't think so on this.
No? Oh, okay.
Platform. But
She's just helping us with other stuff.
Yes.
You'll have me back, or I'll be back.
Of course.
If you don't
We'd
like
love
it
to
or
have
not.
you guys.
I'll take it.
So,
Well,
that's pretty much it, I think. Right, Brenda? Did I miss anything?
That's it. And we are at 59:11, so we're perfect.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. This was super fun.
Yeah.
And
Thanks
thank
for
you.
doing this.
everybody. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, all of the people that joined us. We have Scotty saying, love the crab page. I love the notifications when I'm busy. And
Michael, thank
so
you.
much.
Did you see what Michael said?
No.
Brenda,
Thank you.
Brittany, Katie, you are fabulous. Thank you for your work and wonderful support. Keep the programs coming. We will.
Oh, thank
Fantastic.
you. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, we'll let you guys all go and have a fabulous day. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye,
Bye-bye.